Hey, football fans, this is Gary Greene in Las Vegas, longtime sports handicapper and professional sports bettor for the past 35 years. And we're heading into NFL week number 8. And we already have 2 games this week that are second time around games. Second matchups, obviously divisional games. One of them is the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I will do another video on that one, but this video will be the Indianapolis Colts traveling to the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans are around a 6-point favorite in this game. They won the first matchup 29-27. It was a wild affair in the fourth quarter as they went back and forth with 4 straight drives ending in a touchdown, but it wasn't enough of a comeback for Indianapolis to get the victory. So the Texans walked away with a win in week number 1. And what was really surprising about that is that was the 9th straight road win for the Texans in their division, the AFC South. So the Texans have been able to win on the road. They're 3-0 at home this year, but it's the Indianapolis Colts that we're getting used to. As three things are going to have to happen. You're going to have to die. You're going to have to pay taxes, and for some reason, the Indianapolis Colts are going to play a game decided by 6 points or less, and that's been every single one of the Colts games so far this year. All 7 of them decided by 6 points or less. But in that first matchup, revenge games are always ones that you want to first take a peek at. Whoever lost, you want to look to possibly first take a look to take side with them. But in this case, you want the games to be where maybe the Colts had dominated the Texans, and then they remember that and say that was ours, we should have had it, and they come out focused. But that's not what happened in that first game. And I remember this game. I watched it on a tape like I do all the games, but I watched it firsthand as well. And it was just 2 plays in the game that kept the Colts for the most part in the game. There were 2 bomb passes to the wide receiver Pierce for the Colts, and one was for 60, one was for 57 yards, and that kind of changed the game. And then there was a blocked punt that the Colts got the ball at the Texans' 5-yard line, and the next play, Anthony Richardson runs it in for 5 yards for a touchdown. And somehow, some way, a game where Houston outgained them 417 to 303 total yards. They out first downed them 26 to 14. On third down and fourth down combined, Houston went 9 for 16. Houston went 213 to 104 in rushing yards. They ran all over. Mixon had a field day, was the player of the week. And then the biggies were Houston had a time of possession advantage of 40 to 20. Usually when you see that as a time of possession at the end of a game, the winning team won by about 20 points or more. That didn't happen. And of course, total plays, Houston 72, Indy just 41. In that game, C.J. Stroud, the quarterback for the Texans, was 24 for 32 for 234, threw for 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 4 times. That also contributed because that put him back. Some bad penalties at the wrong time. They were just on the cusp and they punted a few times when they were moving the ball a little bit. So really, for the most part, there was only, I think, 1 bad drive by the Texans in that game. The stars of the game were Stroud. Of course, I just gave you stats, but Nico Collins, who to me, I've preached about this guy for years. This guy's one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL. He had 6 catches for 117 yards. He will not be playing in this game, so a big loss for the Texans. Stephon Diggs in his very first game in a Texans uniform had 6 catches and 2 touchdowns. For the Colts, it was Anthony Richardson, 9 for 19 for 212. And again, half of those yardage, over half, came on those 2 plays where Pierce somehow got behind the secondary and was wide open and then ran down the sideline and got 2 big gains. Again, 117 of 212 on 2 plays. So that's why I say things get a little deceiving at times. Richardson had an interception. Jonathan Taylor, their star running back, 16 rushes for only 48 yards. He's been out for a while. The good news is he will return for this game, and the Colts definitely need him. I'm not a big Anthony Richardson fan, but again, just some games, just even in domination by one side, end up close. If you hadn't watched the game and you just looked at the final score, you would say, well, the Colts played them toe-to-toe, just a tough 2-point loss. It's not really the case, but you got to give the Colts credit. They hung in there. I like the young head coach for the Colts, and it to me, the problem is that Anthony Richardson, who has now 9 games under his belt, he's been hurt more than he's been able to suit up for games. But his passing is just too erratic for me. He overthrows wide open wide receivers every week, and he's not as dynamic a runner as you would think he would be for being a running quarterback. When you see the other 4 or 5 guys like Lamar Jackson or more my Commanders, young Daniels, it's just a situation where he's not doing the same big runs. He's made a few good ones, but nothing really to write home about. So over half of Anthony Richardson's passing, like I said, came on those 2 plays. Can he put together drive after drive on the road? It's one thing to do it at home and the crowd's in your favor. This is a good home crowd now for the Houston Texans. They're really into the game, and they're not one of those teams that sells a good portion of their tickets to the opposing fans, and the Colts aren't going to have a whole ton of fans there. So there's no big advantage for the Colts as a revenge factor type of situation. So again, the Colts, though, 7 games, they were decided by 2-6-5, 3-3-3-6. And the difference here is that they've only faced one offense in the top 10 in the entire NFL. So that'll help you if you're playing bottom feeder offenses. You're going to usually stay closer in the games. But Pittsburgh was the 20th offense is the 20th offense in the NFL. Jacksonville 16. Tennessee Titans second worst. Miami 22nd. Chicago Bears 24th. Houston was the 11th, so not quite a top 10. The Green Bay Packers, the only team the Colts have faced as a good offense in the top 10 at number 6. Now, you have familiarity. That always helps. The Colts split with them last year, so they know what they're going to get. Obviously, there's a few different guys in there for the Houston Texans and Mixon and Diggs, and they're both superstars as far as I'm concerned. So they were great additions for this Texans team. Now, when we look at this game and we see what happened last week, the Houston Texans quarterback, C.J. Stroud, had his worst passing game under 100 yards in his entire career. So can he bounce back? I would assume that he's going to have a much better game than that, especially playing at home. But the fact is that Indy allowed Miami, who has not really been running the ball, and their offense has been terrible, but they allowed them 188 rushing yards last week. And if they're going to do that again, that's kind of what they did against Mixon as he ran all over them. The line was playing well in the early part of the year, but the line has regressed a little bit for the Houston Texans. That's what shies me away from looking at the Houston side at all. I don't like when offensive lines aren't playing good, and the last couple of games, and part of that is, you're missing a key piece like Nico Collins, and now you're looking for other receivers, and it was clear C.J. Stroud had a good rapport with Collins, so now he has a great receiver in Diggs, but again, he doesn't have a great rapport yet. They're still early. They've only played 7 games together. That'll get better as the season progresses. So the good news, again, for the Colts is that Jonathan Taylor will return. He's been out the last 3 games. But again, Anthony Richardson, to me, he needs this kid to have a 120-yard game. Maybe that'll finally open up the passing game a little bit because they're not really getting all that much. Anthony Richardson's a hit and miss. He hit those big plays to Pierce that last time, but he also misses a lot of plays. Really errant. He'll throw it right into the defense's arms. He's not great at reading coverages as of yet. So again, it's a revenge game, and they were close, and all the numbers would tell you that the Colts are going to play another close game because it's just been that every week, and that's good coaching that they're in all these games, even when they're getting outstatted big time like they did in the first week. So I would have to look at this game, though, and pass it just due to the fact that the offensive line hasn't played great. No Nico Collins. I want to see the Texans get it back rolling without him, because with him they were rolling well. First time he's faced adversity of this nature, C.J. Stroud, young kid, love the kid. I think he's going to be a superstar. He's close to that right now. But the Colts, the defense They must stop the run. If you're looking to bet the Colts, you have to be making your bet believing that they're going to hold the Houston Texans and mix in, that rushing game under, say, 130. If they can do that, even an erratic Richardson, maybe another turnover on a punt return or something. But you can't expect to have those type of big plays uh, week in and week out against the same teams. Obviously, the Texans got burned, but they dominated the first game. And it's just so hard for me to think that all of a sudden, just 6 weeks later, they're going to be dominated back or even have the stats be pretty close when they're playing on their own field off a tough, heartbreaking loss against the Green Bay Packers. And that was a game they didn't play well, but yet they hung in the game. So I would expect that the game will probably be pretty close. I would probably make my prediction that the Houston Texans will win by 7 to 10 points, but that's right around the spread, so it would be a pass game. But I will do another video on the other revenge game of the week, the Atlanta Falcons at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to come in really in a world of hurt, losing their top two superstar stud wide receivers in the same game last week. And we'll see how they pick up the pieces and can they get revenge on the Falcons, who beat them 36-30 in overtime. That was probably one of the most fun games of that week a few weeks back. So I'll do that video, and I'll continue to do as many videos as I can each and every week to hopefully make you a better informed sports bettor. That's what I do. I've been doing it for 35 years. I did it in the radio shows in the Las Vegas casinos for almost 30 years. And hopefully we can just at least help you, especially if you don't have any time to do any homework on the games. But hopefully I could give you some teaching tips, and make sure you check out all my teaching videos on how to be a better winning sports bettor. So hopefully everybody has a great weekend ahead, and check out more videos as they come. And I will be hopefully loading up the other video very shortly on the other revenge game of week number 8 in the NFL. This has been Gary Greene for Gary Wins. God bless and have a great weekend.